some have voiced at various points over the last year or two that it has been disruptive. So that's just history in my mind. How do we make it work better? And from the selectmen's point of view, one thing that we're doing, and we're working on a very complex calendar now. It's not that complex, but the first week of every month, David comes in to talk to the select board about what he's got going on, what he's doing. The second week of every month, Kim comes in and talks to the select board about what he's got going on. We go over his budget specifically. And we'll go over all these, and we'll do it every single month. What the hope would be is that if we have people from the budget committee that have interest in that particular area, they'll start to show up then too. And then we don't have to ask David the same question from two different sides, you know, because we're going to ask him the same stuff too.
You're going to post those meetings, so that this is the agenda and everything like you have been doing in advance.
It will be that, and there will be more slots on there.
Right, but it will be on the web or something, so people know in advance.
Yes, but I can never get on the web again.
Yeah, unless you hand up.
Yeah, what I'm thinking of, and maybe this is not a good way of putting it, but the selectmen, even though they're busy, we have had really no representation at our meetings here from a selectman.
You'll never get one of those guys to show up.
No, I'm just saying. And that, again, could be part of the problem, because there's no communication.
Yeah.
And having somebody from the select board being at this meeting, so that if there is a problem, it can be taken care of and addressed, brought back, and then brought back to the committee again.
That's partially my fault, because again, it was availability of people last year, and I like to get input from the selectmen, but I can get a straight answer. And so, to me, having a selectman here, if you couldn't get a straight answer, was not worth it, to be honest. So,
well, we've got a good guy now that's going to be coming and working with us. So,
you know, but it's also a two-way street. We want them to come to our meeting. That we should be attending their meetings to some extent. So, but Glenn, you were going to say something before.
Well, we will. I will be the representative of the select board to attend these meetings as often as I physically can.
So we're on the spring schedule as of now.
Correct.
So the second and fourth Wednesdays.
Like it.
Okay.
When it gets into that busy, then I'll
So,
come up with an excuse for it.
So, are you guys going to give us some direction? And you guys going to actually talk amongst yourselves and figure out what?
I can talk about some high-level stuff tonight about what we're thinking. I don't want this to be, we sit in a room and then we pass down the edicts from on high. I hope we can have a conversation tonight.
I think that's a good idea, because before that starts, let me tell you what I was thinking too, and then we'll try to put the two together, because I think there's going to be some overlap. The old business on the agenda was the goals and punch list, and we had gone over it last meeting and kind of rated them low, medium, and high. And so hopefully they'll be sync with that. I don't know if they will be or not, but that's food for thought. So, okay. So you had to hand up.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn basically asked my question. I mean, it seems like Chris personally is in favor of the committee continuing, is willing to give us some direction of some kind. But I feel like I really need to know that the whole committee, that all of you are really behind this. And
there's still that question of independence as well.
Yeah, and there are certain things that I can certainly speak to tonight and share and discuss, but when we start to waver into things that I'm not exactly sure about how those guys are going to feel, then I'll just tell you that.
That's fair.
So you're going to have a discussion after this with the other two and decide the fate of this committee?
That sounds a little ominous.
No, that's what I've been feeling.
Yeah, I understand how you would feel that way. I do. But hopefully we can come out of this with, some roughed out plan that's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Marianne, I'm sorry.
I feel like, if I don't say this, the audience, Marge, yes. You have an in with one of the selectmen. Just thought I'd lay that out there.
I was going to ask if anyone felt uncomfortable.
No.
I may have an in, but I really don't have an in.
Oh, okay. So not that I'm asking, can you speak for another person, but do you have any
sense,
You know how they sense
You've
the
known
room,
this
sense of the home life, sense of the,
Hey,
sense
Mark,
of something.
told you so.
Yeah.
We had this conversation last night.
What you knew that I was gonna say?
Not you, but
Oh.
at some point, you didn't think it was gonna be this soon, so.
Oh, sorry, it just felt like the old.
That's fine, so go ahead.
No, I don't mean to put you in an uncomfortable spot, but do you have?
What you already have.
You do have a sense, or I made you uncomfortable?
Yeah, no, Tim speaks for himself, and I cannot speak
Okay.
for him here.
You don't even have any little.
But at some point, he will come, I'm sure. If,
I hope so.
he has no problem with that.
Oh, good, because, I've never met her.
On the matter of independence, I would say, I would prefer that the select board would ask us what advice we could provide to them. Because that does not compromise our independence.
Yeah, and
I don't want direction from the select board. That compromises our independence.
Well,
perhaps a poor choice of words.
you could give it
But
back
no,
in terms of what you'd like help with. Right, that's,
exactly.
That's our job.
And that is exactly the sentiment on the select board. You say that unequivocally. We would like to say, taking a deeper dive into the transfer station, no pun intended.
You're really working on it tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'll be here all week, folks. But that's one of those areas that we could seriously use help. I think that is a direction that we work with you to come up with targeted efforts on specific issues that we feel we're concerned about, or perhaps you bring to us and say, we're really concerned about this. And then we talk about it, and then we say, okay, well, that does make sense. Let's put a few people on that and see where it goes. I think it's been a concern with the staff, and that isn't just a this year, but a next year, but coming up with a better way to interface with staff. What I'm committed to this year is those regular meetings with the department heads, which did not maybe occurred a half dozen times last year total. Maybe I'm being generous. But we can start working off an agenda and working off of a calendar, so this is now a regular thing. I think we'll be able to decrease the amount of time that you guys would ever have the need to set up a meeting with a David or with Cameron, things like that. Doesn't mean you can't, doesn't mean that's off the table, but what I think we can do by getting things more organized on that side in terms of the schedule, that will help that tremendously. And then, we can work out how data gets requested. There is that long-standing sort of, give us a week to get back to you. I will tell you one thing about Linda and Kelly, that regardless of how busy they are, their instinct is to solve the problem immediately, get it off their plate, and move on to the next thing. So even if it is detrimental to their day, even if it puts them behind on 10 other things, they're still going to do it. I can't put it any more plain than that. Even though they say this is perfect, this is fine, it's not how they are. It's a good thing. It's a good quality, but it makes their lives challenging sometimes. So if we can do that, that would be great. And then I really think, maintain attendance at this meeting every time you guys get together, so that we can answer any questions. I can pass back to those guys what's going on, and I just strongly encourage you guys, as many of you can, to attend the selectmen's meetings. And if you have an area of particular interest, if you've worked with, you consistently work with David, then, all you have to do is mark 1 week on the calendar, the first Tuesday of each month, and that's the day you want to show up. And instead of meeting with David, whenever you can get time with him, from September to the end of the year, you'll be talking to him every single month. And then, we're still going to have things we need to do. That's the first thing. The second thing, didn't get a chance to go through my email, but I really want to get my hands back on Jonathan's schedule, and I'd like to work with you guys on seeing how we can implement that and get it to Kelly so she can put that on our schedule.
Priscilla, can you take care of that?
Yes.
It's on Google Drive, actually. I don't know where you still have access. But, okay, she's gonna send it to you right now, so, or at some point, so.
Is there anybody in particular I should work with on that? Anybody?
I think it's done.
Pretty
Look it over, and if you have
Okay.
questions about it, I mean, I don't think
Did you
there's.
guys find any tweaks you wanted to make to it?
We did it.
It's already done.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the last time, so, but, I think we can wrap up this discussion in terms of the relationship. I think the question is still up in the air, and you've got to go back to the other selectmen in terms of whether or not we're gonna be independent and supported by them. I think if you're gonna be the regular, liaison and you can't make it, you just shoot the chair an email, and if there's questions, the chair, or somebody can be a key point to gather those questions and email them to you after the fact, and vice versa. So I don't think that's an issue. And then I think if we spend a few minutes now going over things we had on our punch list and let you know what our high priorities were, and you can go back to the selectmen and say, this is what they think they should be working on, or whatever, and we can go from there.
That's fine.
Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
And I think to address the question of independence, I don't think any, I'm going to speak for myself and say that I have no desire to make this group subservient in voice and opinion to the selectmen. But I think if we can work throughout the year together, and if we maintain communications, we maintain cooperation as we go through these things, and if we are giving you direction on the issues that concern us, that we think are worthy of a harder look, then I think I don't think there'll be any issue with respecting the independence of your views when they come out. I think that the concern comes out when you have a group that's doing whatever it thinks is best, and then announces it to the world, and the selectmen sort of sit there going, we didn't even ask for that. You know what I mean? But I think we can.
So, I guess a quick question.
I don't think any of us have done that as this group, have we?
No, that's more of a hypothetical.
Okay, thank you.
So, I know all of our time is very valuable. I know sometimes you look at stuff and you say, okay, fine, you could do this and you could save some money, and then it just goes in one ear out the other. And I think the hardest part with you guys is to deal with your department heads to change the way they think and the way they look at stuff. I'm self-employed, been self-employed my entire life. I always look for ways to save money and cut corners. Not cut corners, but to, it's just there. You can do it. It's just natural. And that's the thing that we need to start teaching, or should not we, you guys need to start directing or nudging the department heads in that direction of doing that stuff.
Two things. I mean, we can certainly, I think everybody on the select board is motivated by the profit motive in their personal lives, and none of us are real big taxing spenders. Secondly, one of the recommendations out of the HR subcommittee was to try to provide some sort of a reward system for saving money. You come up with more efficiencies within local government, you find a better way of doing things that saves the town money, then we should reward those people. And it doesn't cost you anything, because if you are truly saving money, then that's okay. You can afford to give somebody a $50 gift card or whatever it happens to be, because they save $500 or $1,000. I think between those two things, it's sort of the carrot and the stick, you know what I mean? We want to make sure we provide positive feedback and negative feedback.
And I think one more thing on the meeting with the department heads I'd like to see, especially with David, is some type of a timeline of what he was thinking of doing this summer. And of course, I mean, you know as well as I do, if you get a big rainstorm or something like that, it's going to throw a monkey wrench into the whole deal. But he should be able to live up to that time frame as long as nothing has been thrown into his. I mean, is he going to cut trees he didn't last year? Is he going to do this? That's just stuff that's on the budget, but it gets diverted to other places. That should not be done. He should live within his lines unless he has an emergency.
So these are areas that I don't think David's particularly strong in. That's he's super strong in other areas.
Correct.
And each one of us has areas that we're weak in and areas that we're good in. So that's absolutely something we would like to work with. And I think that's a great way that we could work together. But again, and the next step of that, the word that hasn't been tossed out here has been accountability. And I think there needs to be a level of accountability with the department heads. So we do ask them, tell me what you're going to do over the next 6 months, and let's write it down. And if you're not doing it, then we need to have a conversation.
Why?
Yeah, tell me why.
Yeah, but I also think it should be, what are you gonna do over the next month? And then when he shows up after a month, figure out if he's done it.
And I actually go under the Ackworth select because I'm trying to work with them up there with the roads and stuff, but I really like their department head actually comes in. He's actually there every single week and he says exactly what he did last week. Well, actually maybe every other week, so the last 2 weeks, and he kind of gives an overview of what he's thinking about doing, in the future, so.
And it's good he gives that voluntarily. I suspect with us, I mean, we're attempting to change, a lot of ingrained habits and things like that.
It takes time.
It takes a little bit of time, but we also have to provide that direction. We have to say, this is the format of the report we expect from you every month. We expect that you're going to update us on this, and this. Let's break it down into tasks. So it's sort of like grading. You got to do this, and then it's done.
When you're talking about department heads, you got David with DPW, Jesse with the ambulance, Kim with the fire department, and we've got the police department, but are there any other ones?
I think those are the four.
Okay, and who is going to be the key point of contact with the police department? Is that going to be Marcello or Roger?
Marcello, as of now, I would assume.
Part of me says he's the chief and he should be, and the other part of me says he's only here a few hours a week. Is he going to be cognizant of everything that's going on and the best choice for that?
That situation is going to have to sort of play itself out. We'll see.
Okay. Because I gathered I gathered from the last meeting there was some kind of an issue over the lettering that went on the card, but.
There certainly was.
Is that
Alstead wrong?
Yeah.
I was surprised when I saw it.
Looks good.
was that a monetary? Did it relate to monetary at all, or?
No, it was very simply the fact that the select board had given direction on what type of lettering we wanted to see and what type of lettering we did not want to see. And what ended up on there
What you
was
didn't want to see.
did not want to see.
But the justification was that it was better for covert surveillance?
Yes.
Seems like a good reason to me.
No, it's not a good reason.
The old cruisers.
The bottom line is when you have a patrol car, that patrol car should be visible. Covert should be done in another way. It's a whole safety issue.
But in this town, we don't have the financial ability to have a covert.
There are a lot of alternatives. Okay. But it's safety is key, something like that.
Again, that's one of those that's water under the bridge at
That's
this
right.
point.
Okay.
It's not our
All right.
job.
Let's so you'll explore the issue of independence with your cohorts and we'll go from there. So.
Yeah, and do you guys have any feedback on what I kind of laid out? Other than what you've given me so far?
I think we've discussed it. I mean, I'd like to go forward unless anybody else feels strongly with what's on our punch list, and then you can take that back to them and you can see where we're going, so.
And also, I would just like to say the transfer station without question, but I don't think that this board should be looking into the transfer station. I think it should be a board that includes somebody from here, somebody who's not on the board, somebody from there.
Let's get to the punch list first.
Okay, but it's just, I don't want.
That's fine. Let's get to the punch list, because that's one of the items on the punch
Okay.
list, so. You may be absolutely right, but, all right, so in terms of the punch list, we talk about and I'm not even sure it's on the punch list actually, the cemetery trust. There was a bit of a debate in terms of whether or not, about the cemetery walls being repaired, where that money could come from and how much. And so Donna has done some exploring with that in terms of that, but we felt it was still a low priority. Am I correct with what I'm stating so far?
More or less.
Okay. Fund balance calculation was a low priority, but Priscilla was going to look into that at some point. The capital improvement plan, discussion, there was some talk of that being taken over by the Budget Committee and the Select Board. It does not have to be by state statute, the Planning Board that does it, and in fact, the Planning Board in essence hasn't been doing it, and the feeling was we need one, that we would look into that, and if necessary. So, Chris, you catching all of this?
I can send this to him.
Yeah.
All right.
Is this different than what's online?
Shouldn't be, well, it's just in terms of we prioritized it. I don't think we ever did online, did we? You weren't here for this discussion.
I was not here for this discussion. We did prioritize it at one point, but
Yeah, no,
those might
this
change.
went beyond that,
Yeah.
so, okay.
So, I don't have the latest comments, but I will get and send to you.
Well, I don't feel that there's anything to get just yet, so hold on to that. We talked about the vehicle equipment's maintenance, listed logs, going back to that capital improvement plan in terms of cost of ownership, figuring out how much it costs us to own things. So that was another one. Pardon?
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Really. Implementing the job descriptions and reviews was another one that was on there, and we kind of left that with a question mark because we weren't sure that really had anything to do with us, but it obviously needs to be done. And so that came down to really the high priorities being building maintenance and the transfer station. And so whether or not we get involved in any of this is to be determined. And if we don't get involved in this, then the question becomes, what do you want us to be involved in? So I don't think any of us would complain if we didn't have any more meetings, except for maybe once a month for the next couple of months. But you know, it's kind of a waste of talent, and too, to some extent. So.
Okay, I'm
Comments?
listening.
I'm sorry, I just got a text message. Could you repeat that?
Which part?
If the camera wasn't on, I think you'd have some gesture. Something to the effect about reading between the lines, but, Donna, you had a comment?
Well, I think you should read it again, so for Chris's
Where did you
benefit,
leave
and then
off?
I'll comment.
Chris, where did you leave off?
When Pauline texted me.
No.
So I'm not sure where I
I'll
lost it.
start over. Okay.
Do you want them on the
Really
board?
listening.
Are we gonna do something with these?
I doubt it. The low priorities that we came up with was the cemetery trust. There was a lot of issues over what could be done. And I think it's something that needs to be looked into, but, maybe slowly over the summer. So fund balance calculation, I don't think is anything major. That was a low priority, and I think Priscilla was looking into that. The CIP, by RSA, it does not have to be the planning board, okay? And then, that relates to the vehicle and equipment maintenance logs in terms of cost of ownership. Compensation committee, we said that, something we're obviously interested in because we need job descriptions for all positions and reviews. Where that's going, I don't know, none of us know, but not necessarily something that this board needs to be involved with other than just kind of keeping an ear to the ground on what's going on with that. Which left the heavy hitters of the transfer station and building maintenance as being what we felt were the top priorities of things that on that punch list that needed to be worked on. So I guess the question becomes, how do we, what level of involvement do you need from the budget committee? Are they going to be separate spin-offs like you talked last night about focus groups, separate committees, or do you want us proceeding with either of those high committees to high priorities to any extent, or anything else that there are priorities, or
I think what I would do is, you guys have laid this out pretty succinctly. Take back to the rest of the board and say, these guys feel that they should take on what they feel are the most pressing matters, being building maintenance plan and transfer station. I certainly support forming a couple subcommittees to look more closely into both of those. I think that's fine. Maybe there is a